Ancient Greece by Karen and Lauren. Religion was very important to the ancient Greeks because it was present in their daily lives. In case you didn't already know, the Greeks had a very polytheistic religion. They believed in many different gods. The most important gods were the Olympian gods that were led by Zeus. The Olympian gods consisted of Athena, goddess of war, Apollo, son of Zeus and god of light, Poseidon, god of the sea, Hermes, the messenger of the gods, Hera, goddess of marriage, Aphrodite, goddess of love, Demeter, goddess of the harvest, Ares, god of war, Artemis, goddess of the hunt, Hades, god of the underworld, Hephaestus, god of the metalwork, and Dionysus, god of war. The Greeks even gave these gods humanly qualities. They had human bodies with human feelings. They even married and had children. These were myths that the Greeks told their children and passed it on orally since there was no written record before Homer. The Greeks respected these gods by assigning each god to a city or for certain situations. For example, Ares was recognized as the god of war, and Hera was the goddess of weddings. The temple, naos in Greek, which means dwelling place of a god, was where the ancient Greeks practiced the rituals. Rituals and sacrifices. Ancient Greeks practiced rituals in honor of the different gods. The most important rituals were the sacrifices that were made to praise, thank, or ask a favor of the gods. This was the most elaborate of the rituals because it consisted of many steps and an elaborate feast of the victim. The different animals that were sacrificed to the gods included birds, pigs, cattle, fish, goats, and sheep. Usually, one would devote their sacrifice to an individual god, such as Apollo and Zeus. The first step of the traditional ancient Greek sacrifice was the decorating of the victim with an array of flowers and strands of garland to represent the holiness that the animal being sacrificed possesses. The most important step of the sacrifice is to purify the animal with clean water. In addition to cleansing the victim, the participant must cleanse their own hands. Failure to purify yourself or the animal would have resulted in pollution. If the victim remained impure and polluted as the sacrificial ceremony proceeded, the god would reject the sacrifice being made to them. The leader and the animal then proceeded to the altar, where a fire was burning. After the procession, the leader of the ceremony would recite a prayer stating the reason for the sacrifice to the god. At the altar, the leader would burn incense to initiate the ceremony, and then poured wine onto the face of the animal and sprinkled salt over its back. After this, the leader made a small incision with a knife on the back of the animal, representing the adoption of the animal's soul into the protection of the god. The Greeks would then use either a knife or an axe to cut the animal's neck to drain the blood, and then would divide its body into 4 equal parts. The insides of the animal were then observed to determine whether or not the animal was worthy of the god. The guts and organs of the animal were then cooked and either offered to the god or served at a banquet where the Greeks would feast. The organs were significant to the sacrifice because it determined whether or not the gods accepted the sacrifice or not. The thigh bones were wrapped in fat, then sacrificed to the gods by burning it on the altar. Wine was then poured on the burnt offering,
while the lungs, heart, liver, and other organs were eaten. After the sacrifice was over, the leftover meat was sold at butcher shops.